Hello, brothers and sisters. It's a new week. We are very happy to welcome you to our show titled Speak of Africa. Thank you very much. Our show has hit over 5 million viewers. We think this is a great achievement. The credit goes to you, the people who have been watching the show, not to me. When we started this show, I was looking for a way for us to communicate so that we can discuss Africa's problems every day, every week, okay? That's why we created Speak of Africa. We speak of African problems, we speak of African successes, and we speak of the aspirations of Africans, especially the African youth. So we think you are really making it possible for this show to really have its meaning, to serve its purpose. Thank you very much to all our subscribers. Thank you very much to all our viewers. If you are viewing this show for the very first time, my name is Prince Ojong, your humble host. Today we have another great show. We're going to really discuss the theme. African youth. Our African youth are tired of divisive politics. I call it divide and rule. The politic of exclusion, where people use tribalism, people like Paul Biya, aged autocrats. They use tribalism to rule, they divide the people so that they can rule the people. This is the kind of politics we've rejected. And the African youth are also telling us they've rejected the politics of divide and rule, the politics of division. And you can see it in full display this week in Africa. For many months, we've been talking about Senegal. Those of you who have been watching our show know that we have really predicted. Don't call us prophets. We are not prophets. We understand African politics, African history, and we've been telling you what has been happening in Senegal. We told you before that Macky Sall's third-term project is going to fail. After over a year, Macky Sall had played all types of games. In the end, the project failed. So if you've been watching our shows, you can even go back. You see that we've been talking about Senegal almost every week on this show. Most shows do not cover Francophone Africa because the hosts don't speak French or do not understand French. We speak French very well. So we read what is happening in the French press, in the French media, and we report on it. So Macky Sall is just like other autocrats. He tried to do a third-term project. It failed because of the power of the African youth, the discontent of the African youth. So it tells us that resilience, if you want to stay in power as a young people, if you want to keep your power and keep dictators at bay, you have to be resilient. And that's what the youth of Senegal have done. And of course, in Senegal, we are also saying thank you to the military. When people look at the situation in Senegal, it's very peculiar. Why is it that democracy can take root in Senegal, but not in other African countries? It is because the democratic tradition in Senegal is anchored on a bedrock of people power, where the military is with the people. People have been asking me this, Prince Ojong, how come President Faye can leave prison and become president, but another guy who is in Cameroon, for example, Sisi Kwayoktabe, cannot do that? It's because in Senegal, the military is not the zombie of the president. The military is an institution of the country. They believe in nationalism. They love their country. By contrast, the military in banana republics such as Cameroon are a tool of the president. In fact, Paul Biya has even created his own military in Cameroon, which he calls B, Bataillon d'Intervention Rapide. Anytime he wants to do any dirty job, he sends them to do the dirty job. Even the army is not powerful enough to do much in the country because they don't have weapons. They are not well equipped. B is Biya's tool. Anytime he wants to do anything, he sends them out. They are attack dogs. They do his bidding. Okay? So that's why, for example, you can see that a young person, in fact, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, the new president of Senegal, was probably only 2 years old when Paul Biya became president of Cameroon. Today he has become president, yet Paul Biya doesn't want to leave the presidency of Cameroon. 2025 is the date for the new presidential election in Cameroon. Paul Biya still wants to stand and run for president. As much as he's even unable to walk, he still wants to run the country using fools like Ferdinand Gongo. Some people are calling him the shadowy president or a fall guy. Well, we don't care what you call Ferdinand Gongo. He's from Nanga Eboko. So Chantal holds him on a leash, then he runs the country. This is not good for the Cameroon youth. The Cameroon youth are dying. Like today, we got news that 2 Cameroonians were killed in a car crash in Mexico. Why were they killed? They were trying to cross from Mexico into the United States. So they had to walk through a very long forest. It's a very treacherous journey for most of these African migrants. So they lost their lives while trying to cross from Oaxaca City into the United States. Why? Because they are running away. They are running away. They are fleeing their own country because there are no opportunities. Paul Biya has been asking, why are my people running away? Cameroon is a nice place. Why are these people leaving Cameroon? Well, I don't know the news Paul Biya is reading, but let him read the news of Diomaye Faye, okay? Bassirou. He's a young president, but we understand in Cameroon, the government media does not want people to hear much about the good news that is happening in Senegal. Senegal is a country with a lot of fanfare. They have a budding democratic tradition. It's been tested, but it's holding. The army has decided that they cannot side with the dictators. The army always sides with the people, which is why the democratic tradition is taking root in Senegal, but not in Cameroon or Togo, which we're going to talk about soon. Okay? To begin, you look at the foreign influence. Our people are tired of foreign influence. So, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, the new president of Senegal, he was chosen by the people. They fought for a very long time. You guys know already this guy was a tax collector. He, with his mentor, Ousmane Sonko, are anti-establishment guys. They are against Franc-Afrique, the politics of colonialism. They want to get rid of it. They want reform. So they were really riding on this public anger, the need for reform. They need to do away with colonialists like Macky Sall. Macky Sall did everything possible to stay in power, but the people won. He put all these guys in jail, yet the people protested. A lot of people died. So the blood of martyrs is watering the democracy of Senegal. Okay? So the people have paid a price. So what Cameroonians and other Africans need to know is that if you want to win your freedom, you have to fight for it. Don't be afraid to die. When you are afraid to die, then you cannot really win your freedom. Because people who want to fight and die, they are the only ones who become free. Because they have decided now that they have to fight against the oppressor. And this is what happens to a slave. That's the time for revolution. Okay? Albert Camus tells us this in his book titled L'Homme Révolté. When the master says, do this, the day you start saying, no, master, I'm not going to do what you asked me to do. That's the beginning of revolution. And that's what the African youth are doing now in Senegal. So you can see that the government in Senegal is already forming. You have the new prime minister in the name of Ousmane Sonko. Ousmane Sonko should have really been the president. But when they sidelined him, he decided to pick his protege, who was in jail with him, to become the presidential candidate. There was no way Macky Sall could have outmaneuvered again to say, oh no, we're going to get rid of this guy. He's in jail. No, he ran, and the people responded rapturously and said, Macky Sall, you're going to leave. We have our new guy who's going to be our president. He's very young, with 2 wives. So for the first time, Africans are going to see some African tradition in the presidency. a president who has more than one wife. One man, two wives. Isn't it beautiful? People have been looking at the two wives of Bassirou Diomaye Faye. It's a new kind of leader. He's very young, okay, very charismatic, with his friend Ousmane Sonko. So Ousmane Sonko is the prime minister. He has already formed his cabinet. We hear there are like 5 ministers and 5 assistant ministers. So that's the cabinet in Senegal. This cabinet is in for change. Change the people can believe in. Change against France. France is really struggling because the days of Francophone are numbered. People of Africa, the people of Africa want to hit that death nail of Francophone. They want to kill it. And now in Senegal, Francophone is dying because the new guys are anti-Francophone. And you're going to see, they're going to come up with a new currency. They are against the French franc. Then they're going to renegotiate all the contracts that France has been benefiting from. You can see that France is saying that they want to form a new partnership with Africa, but that's just propaganda. They just want to wear a new screen, as I say, black skin, white mask. On the surface, they make it look like we're going to be doing things that are going to be good for black people. No, they're going to be doing things, the same things they've been doing for a long time that are only good for France. That's what they are doing. And you can see that's why the entire African youth, as we're going to tell you on this show this week, they are rebelling against France. Starting with Ambazonia. In Ambazonia, a lot of stuff is happening. Now, the people of Ambazonia have decided to issue Amba coin, which is a cryptocurrency. You know what a currency is, but a cryptocurrency is a little bit different. It's not really controlled by any kind of leader. I don't really want to go into the details of the mining of this currency, but if you look for a book like Cryptocurrency for Dummies, it would explain to you the basics, the way some of these new currencies are created. But they function just like any other form of money. The only difference is it's not controlled by one government, like say, by the Cameroon government, by France. No. What are the ramifications? Some people may not really understand the ramifications when Ambazonia has a currency, but the ramifications may be economic, they may be political, and they may be social too. On the economic front, they will be able to raise more money to fight against their occupiers, La République du Cameroon. Okay? Next, in La République du Cameroon, we also hear Boko Haram is wreaking havoc. In the north around Marwa area, you have 8 people were killed by Boko Haram. Where is the Cameroon army? Well, the Cameroon army is always there after the fact. When the people have done the harm, the Cameroon army comes late. But this time, we understand 5 soldiers were killed, and I think 3 civilians were also killed. So Boko Haram continues to move from Nigeria, get into that area, and kill people with joyful abandon. The army is not really ready to protect the people. The army just concentrates serving beer. So this army is ineffective. We've told you that. From Cameroon now, we'll move to Chad. In Chad, you have a charade of an election. We have a leader who just killed his opponents so that he can guarantee his victory in an election. Is this democracy? The young guy is there, Mohammed Idris Deby Itno. He took power after his father died. A few weeks ago, we told you the way he killed his own cousin, who was trying to campaign for the post of president. Then he will tell you he's a democratic president. This guy is fooling the international community. And the African nation, we speak of Africa, we're telling you that don't believe in the charade organized by Mohammed Idris Deby Itno. The kid is a lunatic. He thinks he can fool the international community that is organizing elections. Then all the main opposition guys, they cannot run. People like Success are running because Success Musra is running because it's one of his guys. He's ineffective. But he has killed all the key opposition candidates, so they cannot run because he wants to guarantee victory for himself. Is this a good thing? We don't think so. Next, We take you to Kenya. In Kenya, you also see a place where France is flexing its new muscles. France is bringing commerce. France wants to do business with Africa. Why do they want to do business with Africa? Because they are fighting. France has realized that China and Russia are trying to encroach on its territory, and France is fighting back. Kenya is not really a French colony. But, well, today, France is not limiting her influence to French or colonies. I call them French colonies because even though they claim to be independent, they are not independent. They are still puppets of France. So they are colonies. They are not former colonies. France still runs all these territories. They call it La France Outre-mer, the overseas territory of France. That's what they call it. So Stéphane Séjourné, the foreign minister of France, was meeting in Kenya, Nairobi, with the Kenyan foreign minister over trade. That's what France does best. France is always looking for resources in Africa. They move from one country to another.
Tired of waiting in long lines at the emergency room or your doctor's office? You should be. Why wait in long lines for care? It's time for you to come to Lucille Urgent Care. Real care, no waiting. Lucille Urgent Care, the best place for true and loving care. Service at Lucille Urgent Care is convenient, fast, time efficient, affordable, accessible, transparent, and cost effective. Royal treatment is your right. Indeed, it's not just a privilege or pejorative. Skip the emergency room's long lines, kiss the ER goodbye, say farewell to your old doctor's office, pay less, save time, enjoy the excitement of convenience, receive immediate treatment, get the healthcare you need quickly and affordably. Lucille Urgent Care offers many express services: rapid COVID-19 testing, on-site prescription, preventative lab services, imaging and x-rays, urgent medical treatment for common illnesses and injuries, routine vaccines and flu shots, work-related injury services, pre-employment, occupational, annual, and sports physicals, immigration exams, and much more. Same-day treatment, rapid lab results, extended hours, weekend hours, no appointment necessary, no insurance necessary, no doctor necessary, walk-ins accepted, telemedicine available. We are open 7 days a week with evening and weekend hours. We are located in Maryland. Lucille Urgent Care, 903 Half York Road, Towson, Maryland, 21204. Website, lucilleuc.com. Call at 443-275-1286 or 301-593-4897.
From Kenya now, they are also in Rwanda. In Rwanda, we have a situation where Paul Kagame is celebrating the 30th anniversary of the 1994 genocide that killed almost 1 million people in Rwanda. Paul Kagame has tried to keep the country stable and safe a little bit, even though he himself is a mass murderer. But a form of stability has returned to the country. Because of his record of development, sometimes people choose to ignore his terrible human rights record. But we have to still point it out. Because today, Rwanda is celebrating this holiday, but we don't think Paul Kagame is a good guy. The opposition cannot speak freely, and this is not good. Then what about Somalia? Somalia also is very much in the news. You can see that Somalia and Ethiopia are not really getting along. Why? Well, they've had issues dealing with Somaliland. Somaliland decided to offer shipping rights to Ethiopia. And Somalia did not find this kindly. So they started fighting, and this has been going on for a while. What do you think is going to end this fighting? Well, the fighting will continue because of the fact that nations have their interests. Somalia thinks Ethiopia is encroaching on their rights, and Somalia did not really like this deal that was brokered between Ethiopia and Somaliland. So they really want it to end. Then what about Uganda? Uganda also has a very strange situation where Yoweri Museveni wants his son to succeed him as president. Then what about the real democracy that we talk about? The youth of Uganda cannot take power because Yoweri Museveni is crushing them. He controls all aspects of life in that country. Since he took power, there has never been any free and fair elections. And the opposition, even Bobby Wine, who is the poster boy of the opposition, they beat him all the time. Sometimes they bloodied him and even throw him in jail. Then, what about Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe also is another place where we're facing a lot of difficulties. They've tried to usher in a new currency. A new currency. They used to use the Zimbabwe dollar, and depreciation have taken their turn in this country. Things have been so bad, just like in the old Germany, where they used to carry money in a wheelbarrow. The currency in Zimbabwe has depreciated so bad. The people were refusing to take this, to accept it as legal tender. So the government had to take action and introduce a new currency. Will this solve the problem of Zimbabwe? We don't think so. Ernest Mnangagwa has to return the country to a producer where they have food, then they produce other stuff for export. So long as he continues focusing on holding tight to power, mismanaging the resources of the country, the opposition will keep fighting him, and the people will keep suffering, and the economy will never emerge. The economy will never emerge. So what should he do? He should do exactly what we're saying. If he does this, it's really going to help his country. Then what about Niger? Well, a few weeks ago, we told you that in Niger, the authorities of this military junta, they asked the United States to also leave. They have asked France to leave many, many months ago. The Americans stayed behind. But the Americans were trying to overplay their hand. So the junta felt like, well, these guys are really taking us for granted. So we need to teach the Americans a lesson. So they've asked over 1,000 American soldiers stationed in Niger to leave. Shortly after they did this, the junta is inviting Russia and China to come in. So they want to do business with Russia and China. How is America going to take this? Well, it's competition. Yeah, America has to accept the competition. We've always said that if America wants to stay in Africa, America has to start fighting for African interests. It is in the African interest to fight for sovereignty. But when America starts partnering with France and ignoring the voice of the African youth, America is not doing the right thing. America will continue to suffer because the people don't like that. Then what about Nigeria? Well, the main story in Nigeria we hear is Bola Tinubu. He has been active as the chairman of ECOWAS. He's now the new leader of ECOWAS. But ECOWAS is losing ground because the young people see ECOWAS as a colonial relic. They don't want colonialism. Colonialism means the people do not have the right to determine their own destiny. The African people want to be free. They want to be able to determine what happens to them. They do not want foreign nations to continue controlling Africa's resources. They think that Africa's resources should be for Africans. But most presidents who come in power in Africa, they become tools of the colonial powers. They give them the money, they overthrow freedom-leaning governments. So the African people are not happy. So ECOWAS is still looked upon as a colonial relic, which is why people are not trusting this institution. But the biggest news too is the former president of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, is back again in the crosshairs of the law. So when will the Bola Tinubu government let this guy go and concentrate on rebuilding the new Nigeria? That's a question on the minds of a lot of Nigerians. They want Bola Tinubu to focus on the economic problems of the country. It should not be focusing too much on Godwin Emefiele. It's true, he's trying to use Godwin Emefiele to settle political scores. But that's not what is in the Nigerian interest. Nigerians love their country. A lot of Nigerians are rising. They don't like it when you tell them they are lazy because they really want a brighter future. Nigeria has a lot of resources. Bola Tinubu should focus on harnessing these resources for the betterment of his people. If he does this, he will have more days as the new ruler of Nigeria. But if he does not listen to the people, what is befalling people like Macky Sall eventually will befall him. Because a lot of the old guard leadership in Africa, they need to make room for the young people. And that's the message of the video we're sharing with you today. The African youth is tired of the young people. In Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, you only have old people who are using diapers. Yet, they are the ones running the country. How can the country emerge when you have old people with no vision, no future? How can they be running a country when they should be in a nursing home? Then we have nurses taking care of them. In most civilized countries, young people are the ones running the affairs of the country. By contrast, in Africa, you have a bunch of old people. Just like we're giving you the example of Yoweri Museveni. This guy probably should give room for young people in his country to run the country. Hell no, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to stay in power until he dies. What about Paul Biya in Cameroon? No, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to stay in power until he dies. Some people have been speculating that maybe before 2025, Biya will play games and nominate his son as his successor. Well, he may not do that until he's on his dying bed, because he wants to remain president until he dies. So this is the tragedy of Africa. We have people who want to stay president until they die. But we think there is a glimmering of hope when we watch what is happening in Senegal. Senegalese people, you guys are making us hope for the best. So we are saying, like Candide, all is for the best in the best of all possible worlds. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Do you need tax preparation services? We can help. Contact PJ Tax Service, America's only full-time income tax preparers. Like the good old doctor, we do not close our doors after April 15th. In fact, we stay open all year round in order to serve you. We are located at 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Make an appointment today with Prince Ojong, your tax expert. Call 240-350-1131 or visit us on the web at www.pjtaxservice.com.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.